Hello! If you've ever thought about fitting a professional pop hole door to your Coop or an automatic opening and closing unit, then this is the video for you. Today we're going to review two products from Titan, a professionally made pop hole door and an opening closer that can work on either light or time or a combination of them. Let's get started. Hello, welcome to English Country Life. Welcome to the workshop on a brisk cold winter's day, and welcome to us looking at pop holes and auto opening devices from Titan. Now, we've actually used Titan gear for a very long time. We've got two different sizes of their brooder plates and we really rate them, which is why we bought a second one after we had the first one. Great kit, great value for money, never gone wrong, really like it. Our candler is also by Titan. So we've got a kind of background of using their stuff, we quite liked it. And this is our main brood coop for the Orpingtons, and I've been refurbishing this over the winter, so I've kind of completely reclad it, I've done the floors and the walls and the roof. And if you want a video on our design for a main chicken coop, let us know in the comments and I'll make you one. I'm not going to go through all of that today. All I want to focus on today is the front of the coop and the pop hole. So in order to do that, what I have done is I've bought from Titan their Elite chicken door. It's a metal pop hole door, and there is some advantages to metal ones. Some of the commercial coops we bought when we started out had wooden pop hole doors, and honestly, they weren't very good. They weren't made to good tolerances. They tended to stick. They'd swell a bit if the weather was damp, or if it got hot or cold. They changed dimensions, and they weren't great. Metal ones tends to be less likely to swell because metal doesn't absorb water, etc., and a little bit more reliable. And if you've got an auto opener and closer, I think that's really important. The other thing I'm going to fit is this. This is the Cube device from Titan. Full disclosure, I spoke to them. I said, look, we're doing this piece of work. Would you like to give us one of your auto openers and closers to review? No expectation of a good review, no payment. And they very kindly have donated one to the channel. But as I say, we're going to give you an honest overall review. We're going to fit that to their door. We really like auto openers and closers. Several reasons. But in main, they add to the security of our flock. They can make sure that that door comes down exactly when we want it to and keeps our chickens, particularly at night, safe from predators. We also find that if this is just full of hens in the summer and I want it to open and give them lots of time to free range and eat all that lovely green vegetation that makes the eggs so good, in the height of summer that could be 4:30 in the morning. Well, you know, I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and open the door to let them out, so something that does that automatically is great. But I also want the ability to not have it open too early if I've got cockerels in the coop. So I'm looking for a flexible unit, and we think the Titan Cube will do that for us. But we'll go through all the features and functions as we fit it. So that's the plan today. First job, fit a metal pop hole door to the coop, and I'll show you what we get. I'll show you how we fit it. It's super easy. Then we'll fit the Cube auto opener and closer to that door, and we'll talk about how it works, how to fit it, what I like about it, and anything I think could be improved. Let's get started. This is the unit we bought. It's the Elite chicken door. It comes in two models, one with a curved top, which I think is a little bit prettier, one with a square top, which is probably a little bit more flexible in terms of the size of pop hole opening it'll fit. So entirely up to you whether you're going for looks or indeed for functionality, but both will work fine. Let's take a look at what you get. That's the metal door itself. Nicely painted, well finished, one little hole in the top to attach the string for your auto opener if that's what you choose to use. Comes with two rails for it to run on. Also metal, matching colour, with screw holes pre-drilled for fitting. You get a set of fastenings and a set of instructions. And that is pretty much it. What more do you need? What I'm going to do is fit that now to the coop. I've had a look at the instructions and it is quite interesting, and I'm just going to go over now what you've got to do for the fitting. The instructions make a couple of things clear, which I think I'm going to point out to you now. First one is obviously, in order for that door to run smoothly up and down, the wood behind it can't be bowed or warped. It needs to be nice and flat and square. The second thing is, when you fit the rails, don't jam them hard up against the sides of the door. You can see they're quite deep, so leave sort of 3 mil of running space either side to allow the door to run smoothly up and down in the rails. Other than that, there really isn't much to the fitting, so let's take a look at that. There isn't a great deal to the fitting of these, but it's worth taking a little bit of time just to make sure that you don't give yourself problems later. So how I'm doing it, I'm going to offer up the pop hole inside the rails, move those rails aside just a little bit to give that 3 mil of clearance so they don't bind. Check that this rail is vertical using a spirit level, and then mark those holes with a sharp pencil.
The next step is to drill a small pilot hole where we've marked the wood with a pencil. This just makes it easier for us to place the screw through the hole in the rail and get the rail exactly where we want it. All we need to do now is screw it in to make sure the rail is fixed solidly.
Four screws and the door's fitted. Runs lovely on the rails. What do I think? I think it's cracking value for money, particularly if you're buying their auto opener anyway. At the time of making this video, that door cost me £23, and honestly, with the quality of the fit and finish, I don't think I could have made it for much less than that, and it's beautifully engineered. Two things I think I'm going to point out about fitting the door. One, do what I said, use your spirit levels, get these rails absolutely in the right place. A little bit fiddly, might be helpful to have two of you to do it. Make sure that the width is the same at the top and the bottom, because you really do want your door to run smoothly. And if it's opening out or closing in or not quite parallel, that's not going to happen. The other thing is something I didn't know. It's been a bloke, I glanced through the instructions, thought that looks fairly straightforward. Something that I didn't pick up on is one set of screw holes is in a slightly different place to the other set of screw holes. So this set are closer in. They actually go through the channel in the rail. This set further out at the bottom, and they don't go in through the channel. Now, the intention from Titan is that you fit the set they're closer in at the bottom. So in effect, I've got them upside down. And that's because when the door is down, the door will then rest on the screw that goes through. I've actually fitted, as you can see here, a bar for the door to rest on anyway. So what I've done is put the closer in screws at the top, and that prevents the door going any higher than that, prevents it fouling or lifting out accidentally. So you can do it either way, and either way is going to work just fine. It's just important to understand that these screw holes are asymmetric, and that's the reason why. With the door in place, it's time to fit the Cube auto opener and closer unit. Now, at the time that I filmed this, Titan are making two versions of this. They're doing one that works just on timer, and that's around £70, which is a real bargain when you compare that to other openers and closers on the market. But the one that has the options of timer or light sensitivity is only a few pounds more, like £77.99, I think, at the time of filming this. Well, honestly, for the extra flexibility that the light sensitivity gets you, I would strongly recommend, for a few pounds more, get the one with light sensitivity. Let's take a look, see what we've got in the box, and look at fitting it. So opening up the Titan Cube box, we've got the unit itself, instructions, batteries, and some screws to fit it to the Coop. First thing that's immediately apparent is the string is not central to the unit. That's common. But what it means is you mustn't center this unit. You've got to make sure that that string is vertical when it's hanging down on the pop hole door. Otherwise, it will drag the door sideways as it raises and lowers the string. First thing to do, undo those four screws, fit the batteries. I've taken out the faceplate screws, and what you find inside is the battery caddy, the carrier for the batteries, is held in place with a retaining strap that's held down with two tiny little grub screws. So I'll have to take those out to fit the battery. So the batteries are in, not particularly complicated, but those tiny little grub screws that secure the retaining strap are small and they're not captive. So if you're undoing those when the coop's in position, be very careful not to lose them in the long grass. So first things first, I'm going to tie this tail of string to the hole that exists in the top of the Titan door. Then I'm going to fit the unit, making sure the string is absolutely vertical above the door so the door lifts and lowers smoothly. I've tied the string on. Next job then is to lift the unit up until it hits those stops at the top. We're going to make sure the string is completely vertical and then mark the 4 screw holes and drill the holes for them.
We're using the spirit level again to make sure the string is absolutely vertical. The next job is to mark with a pencil where we need the screws to go. Just as we did with the door, we're going to drill some pilot holes, and that's so when we screw the faceplate in place, the auto opener is in exactly the right location.
So to fit the door and the unit, it's a matter of putting 8 screws in and just understanding what you're doing. I'm going to show you in test mode. I just want to describe how this unit works. So I've done nothing to configure the unit and door. I've got nothing to tell this unit how far to lower the door, when to stop pulling it up, etc. And it works it all out for itself, which is really, really clever. Let me show you how it works. So to lower it manually, press and hold the minus button. It's a very quiet motor actually, much quieter than many of the units. It operates on any door from 300 grams to 1 kilogram. Lowers the door, as you can see, very, very slowly. But this is the bit that I find really intriguing as it hits the bottom. It works on string tension. So as the door hits the bottom, takes the tension off the string, stops the motor. Very clever indeed. Now it's opening the door again. And actually what's going to work here is that tiny, tiny, tiny black bead. And what happens is, as it pulls the door up, brings the string onto the spindle, into the unit, when that little black bead disappears into the unit, it hits a micro switch, and that tells it that the door's at the top, and it switches the motor. Very clever self-calibrating unit. Eight screws in, the unit's fitted and it's self-calibrated. You can't go far wrong for that. I promised you that I would say what I liked, what I didn't like about the unit. So let's start with the door. It's 23 quid. I think it looks great. It was easy to fit, but you do need a bit of care just to make sure those rails are the correct distance apart and that they're fully parallel. But that's going to be the case on any rails you fit. So door for 23 quid at the time that we made this video, I think that's a bargain. You'd struggle to buy the materials for that. But the unit itself, well, there's a number of things I really like about it. And again, I'm going to be honest, first thing is the price. At the time of filming, this unit is under £80, and that's with the light sensor and the timer and the option to configure mix and match between those two. And that's the second thing I like. I think it's really important for me that you can have the unit on timer setting for opening so that chickens come out when you want, but automatically adjusting itself for closing so it closes at dark. I think that's the perfect setting for us for these kind of units. And some units you can't do that. You always have to have both on timer or both on light sensor, and I think that's a bit of a drawback, if I'm honest. So price is great, configurability is great. I like the fact it's got a battery indicator on the front so that you can see the state of the battery, and I love the fact that it self-calibrates in that really clever way that we show. So those are all, I think, great pluses for the unit. Are there any areas that I think could be improved? Yes there are, and I'll give you 3. One is, and it's a small thing, but it matters to me. I would like to see a super bright LED there when the battery is on its last few days. It's got a visible warning and that's superb, but we've got 8 Coops. Am I always going to check that? Probably not. So I would love to see something that kind of screams at me and goes, change battery, change battery, change battery, you know, bright red flashing LED. So that's, I think, it's not wrong because it's got the indicator if I bother to look. Just helps me being stupid. Next thing I would like is a better way of changing the batteries. I've got to undo 4 screws here and they all potentially can fall out. They're not captive. And then 2 screws internally that are tiny that also could fall out, get lost in the long grass. I would like a simpler, safer way of changing the batteries without losing screws. It's a small thing, but I can see it happening in the real world. The third thing, it's a small thing, is I would like a program feature. So it can work on timer, it can work on light. I would like the option for it to work on manual. And you can get that on some of the competitor products. So that you can say, close on light setting, but only open when I press the button. So if you want to do a health check, for example, you could set it up like that for one day, let your chickens go to bed, it won't open in the morning till you come down, do your health check, press the button to open the coop, let them all out. And that's a really nice little feature. It's not something we use often, but it'd be a nice to have. So that's it, that's my review of the system. Overall, simple to fit, self-calibrated, everything you need is supplied, and an absolute bargain. So definitely when you think you can get the whole unit for just over 100 quid, around about 100 quid, including the door, that is probably, I think, the best value for money on the market at the moment. So we'll put a link to both of these units in our Amazon store in the description down below. But overall, simple to fit, and I really like it.